Dresses hanging in the wind tonight. Silent witnesses to stories untold. Sisters, mothers, daughters out of sight. Their voices echo, brave and bold. Every face upon the missing wall has a name, a dream, a beating heart. We won't let their memory fall. Each one precious from the start. They matter, every single soul. They matter, we won't let go. Stand up, speak out, don't turn away. Search for justice every day. They matter, and we'll never stop the fight. They matter, every single soul. They matter, we won't let go. Stand up, speak out, don't turn away. Search for justice every day. They matter, and we'll never stop the fight. Indigenous people, strong and free. Women, men, and children too. Your lives have meaning, you belong. We hear your voices call. All lives matter in this sacred
Why are you breathing
space.
into it?
Every soul within our human race. True seekers, justice, unite. We are family, we'll make this right. We will stand up and join the fight. Fight on! They matter, every single soul. They matter, we won't let go. Stand together, such as one, until every case is done. They matter, and love will light the way. Red dresses dancing in the light, reminding us to never give up the fight. We all matter, we all matter, we all matter. One human family, standing together. Red dresses dancing in the light, reminding us to never give up the fight. We all matter, we all matter, we all matter. One human family, standing together.
Live on the air, it's Trial Junkies United Presents Justice After Dark with your host, Z.
Thank you, Doc. I appreciate it. Hey, everybody. We've got Southern Gal True Crime here, Dandelionness, my fabulous mods, the Irish Luna Princess and Fowler. Give them some love. Yay, Pammy's here with us. Therapist, is with us. It's great to see you all. I hope I didn't leave any Oh, Simi Sharp. Yay. Stream Straddler. I understand, darling. And we welcome you always. Glad you're with us. Well, welcome to Trial Junkies United Presents Justice After Dark. It's Thursday night, and so that means we're dedicating the episode to our missing and murdered Indigenous family. Greetings to all of our truth seekers, the trial junkies, and the justice warriors. I'm Z, your storyteller in the wilderness of injustice, and my ride or die Doc is riding shotgun as we navigate the darkness where the predators hunt and the system fails. You ready to saddle up there, Doc?
I'm all saddled and ready.
Awesome. Let's go. Right now, everybody's talking about the Epstein files, and we should be. Girls were trafficked. Children were abused by the powerful. And we're asking, will they get justice once these files are opened? But here's the real question. Will they truly ever be opened. Because here's what we know. This isn't the first time that politics, SA of a child, and murder have intersected. It isn't the first time power has protected predators while silencing victims. And tonight we're going to take you back to South Dakota, actually to 1967 and the 1970s. Hey, Ben, glad you joined us. Back to a story that mirrors everything we're seeing with Epstein, except this time the victim was a 15-year-old Lakota girl, and her name was Jancita Eagle Deer. And just like today, everyone who could have helped her, they looked the other way. But we refuse to let silence be betrayal here. Hey, Billy, glad you made it, darling. So buckle up. Tonight, we tell a story that really deserves to be heard, and a story that society has tried to bury. Every Thursday, on Justice After Dark, we honor our Indigenous and Native American brothers and sisters. We tell their stories so that no one is left behind and no one is forgotten. It was 1967, and sadly, this is the only picture I could find of Jancita Eagle Deer. But in 1967, she was 15 years old, and she's a Brulé Lakota living on the Rosebud Indian Reservation in South Dakota. And like many Native children, Jancita grew up mostly in foster care. She attended the Rosebud boarding school. Her uncle was Leonard Crow Dog, a spiritual advisor for the American Indian movement, or back then they called it AIM. They still do. But Jancita herself was trying to survive in a system that had failed Indigenous children for generations. That year, she was babysitting for a family. The father, who was kind of her legal guardian, offered to drive her home. And this is a picture. His name was Bill Janklow. He was a white attorney working for legal services on the Rosebud Indian Reservation. And on that ride home, Bill Janklow essayed Jancita at gunpoint. 15 years old, her legal guardian, a gun to her head, Jancita did what we tell survivors to do. She told someone. She went to her school principal. She was taken to the hospital in shock. They did an examination, was performed on her. Her story was documented. Her high school guidance counselor corroborated her account. Her foster parents corroborated her account. A BIA investigator corroborated her account. The evidence was there. They collected it. The trauma was real. The crime was clear. But you know what happened, Doc?
Nothing.
No, crickets. No one prosecuted her case. Not the federal government, not the state, not anyone. Federal and tribal jurisdictional barriers buried the truth. The power of a white attorney outweighed the voice of a Native girl. Jancita Eagle Deer's essay was documented, corroborated, and ignored. 7 years passed, and you can imagine how those 7 years must have passed for this poor child. She's living with what happened to her as she watches the man that essayed her walk free, practice law, keeps getting more powerful, facing zero consequences. But in 1974, something changed. With the help of the American Indian Movement and Tribal Council, Jancita found her voice, and she stood before that Rosebud Sioux tribal court, and she testified under apparent emotional difficulty that Bill Janklow had essayed her at gunpoint and threatened her life. Rosebud tribal judge Mario Gonzalez documented her testimony. He wrote that multiple sources had corroborated her account. The evidence was overwhelming. I mean, they found her earring in his car. They found evidence, and in an act of an extraordinary tribal sovereignty, and we got to give it to this tribal judge, the Rosebud Sioux Tribal Court disbarred him from practicing law on their reservations. It was one of the first times the tribal court had held a non-native official accountable for violence against a native woman. Jancita Eagle Deer was now 23 years old. She'd done it. She'd stood up against power. She'd spoken her truth in open court. She fought back. On April 4th of 1975, just 6 months after Jancita testified against Janklow, her body was found on a rural Nebraska road near Aurora, Nebraska, about 200 miles from home. The official story? A car pedestrian accident. A 17-year-old driver, Terry Scott, struck her on I-34 east of Aurora. The driver, he went to the hospital for shock. No charges were filed. His parents had money. But the circumstances were suspicious from the start. Witnesses said that Jancita was last seen with a man named Douglas Durham, an AIM activist she had been dating since 1974. And this is a picture of Douglas. Jancita Eagle Deer, a 23-year-old Native American woman, died in what was officially ruled a hit-and-run accident on a lonely Nebraska road. However, the circumstance raised serious questions. Following information compiled by AIM investigators, there were several inconsistencies that emerged that suggested a cover-up by the Nebraska officials to protect Douglas Durham, an FBI informant. Did you hear me? An FBI informant. He was proclaiming to be part of AIM, the American Indian Movement, but he was an informant. Now, here are some of the key suspicious details. The car involved to Durham's father had belonged to Durham's father and had been at Durham's brother's house. Jancita's body showed injuries inconsistent with being hit by a car. Her shoes were found some distance from where she fell, suggesting she could have been fleeing. There were attempts to avoid hitting her, plus charges that she'd been drinking, though that was disputed. A man driving a pickup truck witnessed the incident, but he wouldn't identify himself when questioned by Durham's lawyer. Missing items from Jancita's body included her AIM rally button, and she had this little black address book, which she carried everywhere with her. It was gone. Douglas Durham was an activist, just as an AIM activist. He was an FBI informant, a plant, a snake in the grass. Just 1 month before Jancita's death in March of 1975, Durham had been publicly outed as a federal informant by Vernon and Clyde Bellecourt. And this is a picture of Durham with the Bellecourts, one of them. He admitted on record he was working for the feds. And here's what we know about Douglas Durham. He was a former Des Moines, Iowa police officer who had been dismissed over suspicions that he might have deleted his first wife. She died at home in her 8th or 9th month of pregnancy on July 6, 1964, and the baby died with her. 4 months later, the medical examiner ruled it heat shock. Yeah, heat shock.
A heat shock. What time of year was this? Because in the winter months, it can get awfully cold there.
Yeah. Well, she died of heat shock. But Durham, by November of 64, he'd already remarried. His new wife eventually filed for divorce that same month, announcing it in the Des Moines newspaper that his pregnant wife had passed away. He got married within months, no investigation, no accountability. Later, we learn how he pretended to be Native American to get through the ranks of AIM to become the National Director of Security. So this dude was just a liar and pathological at that. He had been a convicted felon with a robbery conviction on Iowa, so I don't know how he ever became a police officer. The Securities and Exchange Commission hit him hard in 1986. In 1974, while still married to his third wife, was when he met Jancita Eagle Deer and started a relationship with hers when he was using an alias in his fake backstory. And Mae Aquash, another AIM activist, and she was from a Canadian reserve, a First Nation woman who she ended up murdered later, said that Douglas Durham was abusive to Jancita. Durham's background as a CIA trained operative. Yeah, trained. They said from 1965 to 1990, he received training in demolitions, sabotage, and clandestine warfare in Guatemala. Don't let the puppy killer gnome know about that. Anyone from across the border, she loves to pick them up. He later worked with another CIA operative in Tucson and became the chief of security for AIM, American Indian Movement, in 1973. He infiltrated AIM and gained significant trust within the organization. And he performed as an accomplished burglar, had access to considerable resources and power. His activities raised questions about the extent of government infiltration of Native American activist movements. The article was published in Covert Action in the summer of 1985, and excerpts are from Secret Agent Douglas Durham and the Death of Jancita Eagle Deer, a pamphlet by Paula Geis, published by the North County Anvil. So there were a lot of questions about this dude, and what he was up to. And we know that his uncle owned a car that looked exactly like the vehicle that picked her up from her brother's house that night. And the coroner who examined Jancita's body said she might have been beaten earlier, or she could have been hurt from jumping out of a moving vehicle, or was hit and killed by the car, or maybe she just got pushed out. So a lot of questions. Jancita's brother, all he could identify was the car. John Trudell, the celebrated poet, musician, and actor and AIM leader, was convinced Durham played a role in Jancita's death. He told author Peter Mathiasen, "I know he did it. He brought her in and used her to create a permanent rift between Janklow and AIM. But she had evidence against him, and he eliminated her." Jancita Eagle Deer died April 4th, 1975, at the age of 23. Her funeral was held at the Catholic Church in St. Francis, South Dakota. Her obituary listed her as Mrs. Jancita Shidell, but she had been divorced and was using her maiden name according to her father, Eagle Deer. She was buried at St. Francis, and no one was ever charged. So Terry Scott, the 17-year-old who supposedly hit her, how did he hit her? Was she pushed out of the vehicle? Was she running from the other vehicle after being beaten up? We don't have those answers because they were hidden. They took him to the hospital for shock, but she passed away.
On the scene.
Now,
on the scene,
yes.
Okay.
Jancita's death wasn't the end of her story. Her stepmother, Delphine Eagle Deer, she refused to be silenced, and she was the sister of Leonard Crow Dog, a spiritual leader in AIM. So Delphine carried the fight forward, and sadly, I couldn't find a picture of Delphine at all. She spoke publicly about what happened to Jancita. She named Bill Janklow. She demanded justice. and she demanded accountability. She did what we tell people to do when the system fails. She spoke up. And then on December 6th of 1976, just over a year after Jancita's death, Delphine Eagle Deer was found beaten to death near Rosebud. Her murder remains unsolved. 2 Lakota women, 2 truth tellers, both died within 18 months. So you might ask, well, what about Bill Janklow, the man Jancita accused of essaying her at gunpoint when she was 15? Well, he rose to power. You got that right. Now, the FBI was going to reopen the case in 1975, but Gerald Ford decided to appoint Janklow to the Board of Legal Services Corporation. So the investigation was closed at the White House's request because we can't have that. Jancita and her mom, Delphine, died shortly thereafter of apparently unrelated homicides, is what they said. Yeah. He became the Attorney General of South Dakota. Janklow served as the 25th Attorney General of South Dakota from 1975 to 1979 before being elected as the state's 27th governor. You heard me right. And he actually served 2 terms from 1979 to 1987. This was the man that they had the evidence that he had essayed a 15-year-old child. Yeah. He was elected again in 1994 and served as the 30th governor for another 2 full terms from 1995 to 2003. He became a United States Congressman. Hey, take it to trial. Good to see you, darling. And here's the thing at Bill Janklow. He had a pattern. In February of 1973, he was arrested for a DUI on the Crow Creek Reservation. He was violently drunk and found nude from the waist down. And he was reportedly that, he'd also committed several crimes in his youth and didn't even graduate from high school. A judge gave him 2 options, reform school or you're going to military school. And in August of 2003, Janklow actually deleted a 55-year-old Randolph Scott, a motorcyclist, when he blew through a stop sign going 70 miles per hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone near Trent, South Dakota. He was convicted of vehicular manslaughter in 2nd degree and sentenced to 100 days in prison.
100 days in
prison. Yeah. But he served a full 30 before being allowed to serve some community service during the day.
Wow. That's heavy stuff.
Yeah. I mean, poor man. It was reported that Janklow had been cited for speeding up to 12 times in recent years. He also resigned from office in 2003 after this. Of course, Randy Scott's family, they filed a $25 million lawsuit. They settled the case for $1 million. And their attorney for the Scott family said the settlement's a good step. I think had Janklow handled the case differently, the family might not have even sued him. But he never personally called them or said how sorry he was or anything like that. And I think they resented that. Well, I would guess so. A federal prosecutor said Janklow was on official duty at the time of the accident, so the federal government is responsible for paying the $1 million compensation settlement. So everybody up in South Dakota paid $1 million to this family for this man taking his life. So this is the stellar kind of people that are in power. Just makes you all warm and fuzzy, doesn't it? I mean, it just, you don't understand it. Now, there was Janklow versus Viking Press because they decided they were going to write a book. And so William Janklow, as the former South Dakota Attorney General, he sued the author Peter Mathiasen, for libel over statements in The Spirit of Crazy Horse was the book. Janklow lost. The South Dakota Supreme Court affirmed summary judgment against him, meaning he never got a jury trial despite fighting for over 6 years. The allegations the book contained 3 main, allegedly libelous statements. Yes, rape allegation. I said it. We're not calling it a fruit. I'll call it essay, but we're not calling it a fruit. The 15-year-old Jancita Eagle Deer reported being SA'd by Janklow in 1967, with a doctor finding evidence of the attack. Number 2, Dennis Banks, quote, claiming Janklow drove drunk while nude and shot dogs from a motorcycle on a reservation. 3, Russell Means, quote, stating he did it all right about the SA, and Janklow went from SAing young girls to SAing Mother Earth. Why Janklow lost as a public official? Janklow had to prove actual malice by clear and convincing evidence. And the majority found Mathiasen had credible sources with extensive documentation. 1,200 plus pages of documentation proving his facts. That's a lot of facts, you guys. Multiple sources corroborated the allegations, and the statements were protected opinion, not fact. Failure to investigate alone doesn't prove reckless disregard. The dissident's objection. Judge Henderson strongly disagreed, arguing sources were convicted felons with obvious bias against Janklow. He was the one person that disagreed. But lawyers warned defendants about libel before publication. White House Senate investigations found the SA charges unfounded, but the defendants ignored this. South Dakota Constitution guarantees jury trials in libel cases. Janklow deserved his day in court, was what the dissenter said, but he lost completely and never got to present his case to a jury. He eventually died of brain cancer in 2012. So unfortunately, there will never be justice for Jancita Eagle Deer and the crimes that he committed against her, that there was evidence. And you know what? Today there is a statue of Bill Janklow that stands in Pierre, South Dakota, memorializing his career. There's no monument for Jancita Eagle Deer. There's no monument for Delphine Eagle Deer. But this.
So,
Go ahead, Doc.
so give me a timeline. I mean, we're talking. He committed these acts. You know, the
SA in 1967.
1967, and the driving, you know, with nude from the waist down, and you know, all that stuff. That was before he rose to power.
Well, I think some of it was. Now the part about, you know, him deleting someone in a car accident, that happened after.
Okay.
Because he was actually, at that point, he had gone on to be elected to serve in the House of Representatives.
Right.
And he had to actually step down because of it. He was arrested in 1970. Oh, no, it was in 1973 he was arrested for the DUI when he was naked from the waist down.
They elected him governor anyway, twice.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound familiar at all.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, it's just like, Lord have mercy, people. And this is the people that you're going to hold up and say, oh, we have stellar representatives. No, you had a predator and a pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. A 15-year-old is a child. Get over yourself. And something to think, the story doesn't end here. Remember Annie Mae Aquash? She was the AIM activist also. And she was the one who said Douglas Durham was abusive. And was abusive to Jancita. Now, in December of 1975, just 8 months after Jancita's death, Annie Mae was kidnapped, essayed, and murdered on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation by members of AIM. Her body was found in February of 1976, and it took until the 2000s for several members of AIM to be convicted of kidnapping and deleting her. And that is a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. But this case actually represents the troubling intersection of alleged government surveillance and informant activity, the suspicious death of a young Indigenous woman during a volatile period of Native American activism. This was during the protests at Wounded Knee in South Dakota. As you can see in this picture, this is a bunch of the members, the ones that were leading the charge of AIM. And one of them is actor Russell Means. He was part of AIM and the movement. And it was because they were tired of being taken advantage of. And this was the world that Jancita Eagle Deer lived in, a world where FBI informants were infiltrating the indigenous resistance movement. Oh, you got some echoing happening?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Can the chat tell me how long has that been going on?
Was it relatively new that started, or? You're right, Pammy, they're very handsome men. Russell Means, I liked him as an actor. He was an awesome dude. Am I still echoing? 2, 3, 4 minutes? Maybe 2? Okay.
Is
Is it still happening? Oh, Billy, thanks for popping in. Go tuck those kitties into bed. Yep, we got the best mods here. Okay, I'm not hearing anything about echoing. Well, was kind of echo. Okay, well, I will talk closer into the microphone. Maybe that's it. It's gone. Okay.
No, it's gone.
Yeah.
I made a change. I'm hoping everything's going on. Okay. All right. As long as there's no echoing, we're good.
Yep. Just let us know if it starts up again, though. So, like I was saying, you have FBI informants infiltrating the movement. There were powerful white men who were essaying Native girls with immunity. Impunity. They didn't care. Where women who were speaking up ended up dying. Now, just as a side note, Bill Janklow, he actually met with President Clinton to keep Leonard Peltier in jail longer. And he met him late at night. And this is another rabbit hole to go down. And one day we'll do it, because Leonard Peltier was one of the activists of AIM. And they had 4 men that they said had shot in 1975 2 FBI agents. Well, the other 3 somehow all got out of being held accountable, and they went after Leonard Peltier. I haven't delved deep enough. I've looked into some of it. Like I said, big rabbit hole. But I think it's interesting that Janklow was determined to make sure that he stayed and did not get released. Now, he was recently paroled. I think it was not quite a year ago, but he's kind of on reservation arrest, I should say, because I think he has to stay on the reservation. He's up in his 80s and has some health issues. So it's just an interesting caveat to the story. And one of these days we'll go down that hole. But so this is where the system of the federal, the state, and tribal was so broken by jurisdictional chaos that justice just didn't happen. The predators knew they could get away with it because everyone depended on silence. But we need to ask, is it any better today? I mean, when we look at Facebook and we see some of these young girls, the Native young girls that are missing, and may show up later as deleted. Has it gotten better, or are they still covering up? You know, it's something to consider when we read our list of missing and murdered Indigenous people. Is it any better? We know ICE is going after the Native and Indigenous people, which is outrageous. If anybody has a right to be here, it's them. But what do you expect from Puppy Killer Gnome?
I'll go out on a limb here. I'm sorry, but is it getting any better? No.
No, you're right, Doc.
Is it probably worse? Yes.
Yeah.
There is social media that makes it more pronounced, but that's just making every occurrence, you know, a little more prominent. That doesn't mean it's happening less.
Exactly. And I agree with you on that. And, you know, when you stop and think about it, these reservations, when we talked to Professor McLeod a while back, when he was helping an oil company from Australia talk to one of the reservations, he said they treat them like they're a sovereign country because they are. They are a sovereign nation. So when they're going on to the reservation and trying to arrest members, you wouldn't be doing that at an embassy. You wouldn't go to the French embassy as ICE and just break through the doors and decide who you're going to take. It's a sovereign nation. Well, let me tell you, these reservations are sovereign nations. So that just does not seem fitting. So to arrest and harass the Native and Indigenous people, that's wrong. So let's talk about the Epstein files again. Everyone's asking, will the truth come out? Will the powerful finally be held accountable? Will the victims get justice? But here's what Jancita Eagle Deer's story teaches us. The truth only comes out when we refuse to be silenced. Jancita told her principal. She went to the hospital. She testified in court. She did everything right. Delphine spoke publicly. She named her daughter's SA person. She demanded justice. Both of them were silenced permanently. How many of the thousands of Epstein victims have even spoken in public? How many have been threatened? How many have disappeared or died mysteriously? But their courage revealed something crucial. A justice system that's built to protect the powerful and punish the powerless. A system where a white man can be celebrated in bronze with having a statue while two Lakota women are silenced in death. This is what power versus vulnerability looks like in America's story. Jancita Eagle Deer was born on October 4th of 1951 in South Dakota. She was Brulé Lakota. She died April 4th, 1975. She was 23. Delphine Eagle Deer was born in 1948. She died in December 6, 1976. They were daughters, mothers, advocates, truth tellers, and true justice warriors. Their voices still echo across the plains, calling us to remember to protect and to believe. And they're telling us their stories of abuse. So let's contemplate that. Don't be so quick because they say we got files that we will know what happened, because they had all the evidence in Jancita's case. But it did nothing, because they still were able to protect the powerful. So let's look at some of our missing people for tonight. Remember, put that cell phone down when you're out and about. Remember these faces when you're in public. You could save someone's life. Some people do live voluntarily. Oh, this is Leonard Peltier when they took him away. But he is now out. Like I said, kind of on house arrest. Only he can stay on the reservation.
Work release or what?
So stay aware of your surroundings. Some leave voluntarily. and then they get to where they can't leave again because they find themselves in danger. Some never have the choice. They're taken. So let's remember that human trafficking is real. These cases happen everywhere, and sometimes people are hidden in plain sight, so we don't think they could be trafficked, but they are. Trust your instincts. If something doesn't look right, go ahead and contact the police. Don't think someone else is going to do it. Man up. Be the justice warrior and call the police. You know, if you're really nervous about it, we do have a tip line. It's tips for Trial Junkies United, gmail.com. And that's the number 4. And we'll pass the information along. Julie's guitar, awesome. Yes, he is finally home. And there's a lot to that story. A lot of people with questions. So that'll be an interesting one. So let's start with our first person. This is Ava Marie Morin. She's 22. And she is 16 years old, you guys. She's been missing since November 16th, 2025 from Mandan, North Dakota, under some suspicious circumstances. She's 5'3" and weighs 135 pounds, and she has brown hair and eyes. Anyone with information, contact the Mandan Police Department at 701-667-3250. Ava had posted on Sunday that a woman by the name of Josephine Thundershield had struck her in the head with a metal bat and showed a photograph of her wounded head on Facebook, and I've seen it. And now nobody has heard from her, and they're really worried, you guys. So if you know anything, contact the Mandan Police Department. If she's somewhere else, just contact your local authorities. Next, we have Miranda LePage. She's 36. And let's shout out to, did we get that up there for the Stolen Spirits for doing great posters for us? They put out a beautiful Facebook page with posters, and they have a YouTube channel, you guys. So check out the Stolen Spirits, because MMIWG. Now, Miranda LePage is 36. She went missing on October 17th at 2025 from Thompson, Manitoba, Canada. And she was missing from Carlton Place. She has brown eyes and black hair. She's 5'5", weighs 120 pounds. The Thompson Royal RCMP want you to call 204-677-6909 or 6911. Or you can contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477 if you want to remain anonymous. Doc's going to put this information in the description. Now, our next person is Yakina Porthunder. She's 17, and she's been missing since November 16th from Pennington County, South Dakota. She has brown hair and brown eyes. She's 5'4". She only weighs 110 pounds. She was last seen wearing a black hoodie, white t-shirt, and jeans. She might be traveling in a black Dodge Charger. Hey, so we got a vehicle to look for. If you have any information about Yakima, please contact the Box Elder Police Department at 605-394-4131. Our next one is Zachary Chambers. He's only 15. He's been missing since October 29th in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. He has brown hair, or brown eyes, black hair. He's 5'7" and weighs 130 pounds, thin build. He was last seen at 2 p.m. in the Tuxedo area of Winnipeg. If you have any information on Zachary, contact Winnipeg Police Services at 204-986-6250 or the Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. So let's hope these people get brought home, because they need to come home. Some of them are just children. So let's ask ourselves, does the truth really come out? Only if we demand it and we keep asking for it. Silence is betrayal, and someone knows something about what happened to Jancita that night in April 1975. Someone knows who picked her up. Someone knows if she had been beaten before the accident. Someone knows if she was either jumped or pushed from a moving vehicle. Someone knows what really happened to her. Every killer depends on your silence. Don't give it to them. If you know something, speak up, because that wasn't just a mannequin on the side of the road. It could have been Jancita Eagle Deer. She was 23, you guys. So much life left to live. She stood up against power. Delphine Eagle Deer was found beaten in her yard. Somebody knows what happened. She was speaking out in behalf of her stepdaughter. Remember, somebody knows. Somebody always does. If you have information about Jancita Eagle Deer's death or Delphine Eagle Deer's murder, don't hesitate to get in touch with law enforcement or reach out to us. We'll be glad to send a tip in for you. And it's tips, 4, trialjunkiesunited.com. If you also have a story or something you want us to check into, please contact us at trialjunkiesunited.com. We always say that silence is betrayal. Every Thursday night is just for our Indigenous and Native brothers and sisters. We tell their stories so no one's forgotten, you guys. Jancita Eagle Deer was only 23. Delphine was just speaking up for her daughter. They're not forgotten. Say their names. Remember them. Believe Native women when they tell their stories. You know, we appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. Does anybody have any thoughts about what they think happened? Because I do think it's interesting that Douglas Durham, he wanted AIM and Janklow to be at odds with each other so that he could, I guess, have more power with the FBI when he was reporting on things. I don't know.
I'm still trying to figure out, wrap my head around how Janklow did all these things, and he still, like, none of this followed him at all.
Yeah.
And he still got elected to public office, and not just local public office, mind you. It was way higher than that.
Well, darling, there is a convicted felon sitting in the White House.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to go there, but yeah, okay.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know what's happened, that people don't take these things into account, that crimes against women are wrong. If a child is under the age of 18, they are a child. They're not an adult.
Mm-hmm.
They're not an almost woman. They're not good, they're children. So we have to remember that. And if you hear anyone trying to make excuses because Megyn Kelly, I'll come right out and say it. She said on the air, well, it's not like they were 8 or something. They were, 15, or they were still children.
Still children.
Yeah. So people that are trying to make excuses in age, a 15-year-old is still a child. Their brain is not gone to the point that they can cope with this. This is why these women do end up with addictions, with issues with relationships the rest of their life. So when you have these people go on the air that are famous and try and make excuses, because if it was just, and I'm not getting political here. I don't care if you're red, you're blue, you're purple, you're green. You mess with the child, you're a pedophile. That's just the way it is, people. You're a pedophile. And like Professor McLeod said, you don't get cured from that.
Oh.
Once you're a pedophile, you're a pedophile.
Oh,
because that's what
their brains are hardwired that way. It's not, you don't get fixed. You just have to make
Yeah.
sure that things are put in place to prevent them from being that way.
Yeah.
Making sure that there are roadblocks put up so that they don't have these problems. So yeah. Oh. Okay.
It's really well for me.
Okay. Is everybody a button must have got pushed. So
Whoops. But yeah, I would definitely say they need to be put in four walls and don't let them out, because in Southern Gal, you are so right. That's why victims are afraid or hesitant to speak up. Just like we told the story about what happened down in Texas with that little 2-year-old that's now 9. She spoke up. Her sister was also assaulted. She hasn't spoke up yet. Can you blame her after seeing what happened with her sister's case? I wouldn't.
yeah.
So these are the crimes that are happening against children. That's why we have to stand up and say no more. We're not going to stand for it. I don't care. A child is a child until the age of consent. And truthfully, they need to make it federally 18. If that way there's no, well, I didn't know, because in my state it's just 16, in my state it's 17, 18. You can't vote, you can't consent. That's just the way it is. Once you're 18, still doesn't mean you should be doing it if you don't know what's going on. But let's make sure that we get the word out there that we're not going to stop. When you harm children, and this poor girl was 15 years old, he not only S8'd her, he held a gun to her head.
Yeah.
In 1967, can you imagine the fear she had? She had foster parents. She'd been living in a boarding school. She was the babysitter for this guy that was supposedly acting like a guardian for her because he was an attorney and he was well known. The fear, but she still had the guts to go tell. And they did nothing. And that's why we need more men to speak up, because we know as women, the women are the ones that, when you look at true crime, it's a lot of women that watch. That's the majority of the audience. And they're the majority when you see, even with the MMIP, MMIW, when you see the rallies, it's the majority of the women. We need the fathers and the men to stand up and take their part. They need to stand there with everyone and say, no more. Because all it's doing is allowing these children to continue to be abused, and the generational trauma is continuing. It's because now that they've been put through this, they're going to have issues. So it just feeds itself. So we have to stand up and say no more. We have to stand up and say, we're going to protect the children. And that's what it's about. We stand for the children. We don't stand for pedophiles. If you're a freak, put them in a jail. Don't let them out.
Yeah.
They don't need to be out.
Unfortunately, that is a situation where all that happens on the back end of a terrible situation, a terrible incident, and what really needs to happen is to have the safeguards put in place, so that these things don't happen.
Yes,
and that's very, very, under the jail. Yeah.
And throw away the key. Yeah.
Yep. There's that.
You need to have the conversations with your children.
Yep.
Plain and simple. You need to have the conversations with your kids, even when they're uncomfortable.
Yep.
You have to believe your children when they come and tell you. You have to, if you're single, Male or female, if you're single but have children, don't be bringing a stranger into your home.
Yep.
You know, research these people before you allow them into your home. There are different, people finder. They're all different programs. My mind just blocked that you can do research on people and find out their background. And if you find someone that has a charge of assaulting a child of any kind, you don't let them through the front door.
Yeah. Just keep in mind that, Professor McLeod really, I was blown away by this information that he shared, is that if you know personally 100 men, 3 of them are most likely predators.
Yep.
So
Pedophiles.
if there are places where there's 100 men, statistics show that
At least
3 are going to be pedophiles.
Yeah.
And that's a scary proposition right there.
Yeah. And so you look at our government and all those men in those buildings,
Mm-hmm.
find out how many are in there, and then get your 10% and figure your
3%.
your 3% and figure out how many of them are pedophiles.
Yep.
If you have people that are blocking laws about the consent age, about predators and the charges they should face, someone needs to be looking into their background, because I'd like to know what they view on their computers, on their phones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pammy, I agree. I think it's probably more too. But that was what the survey, it wasn't a survey, it was a research paper that they had. And like he said, I don't know how they came to that, but they did research it, and that was the numbers they came up with. So you're probably right. It could be even worse.
I'm sure it is.
So we have to protect our children. That's what it's all about. Please, if you have kids in your life, be that person that they know they can come talk to you, because sometimes it might be embarrassing to go talk to mom and dad. But if you're the favorite aunt, the favorite grandparent, let them know that you're a safe person too. That if they need to talk, you're there to listen. You're not there to judge. It's time for Fala to go to sleep. So we're going to wind up here tonight. You guys, I really enjoyed chatting with you, and I hope you got something out of this, because this story touched my heart. If there's a story, like I said, give us send it into our email. We'll be glad
let
to
us
look
know.
into it for you.
We'll get it on the air.
Thursdays, always know, is our Native and Indigenous night. Sundays, it's whatever we think, whatever comes to mind. And I am working with Miss Barbara Hall. We are working on her son Timmy's case. That's going to take a little time. I was hoping to do it sooner, but we've decided we want to do some digging. And that one is, it's a pile. So just hang in there, guys. We appreciate you all. And I want you to, until next time, stay informed, stay compassionate, keep seeking truth, you guys, and keep demanding justice. Never stop speaking up. We love you all. And we're going to see you on Sunday night at 8 p.m. Central for our Sunday edition. So ciao. Good night. And listen to our song. It's about protecting our kids. So let's do it.
Little voices need our ears to listen. Tiny hands need ours to guide them. In this world of shadow,